Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. Canada has set itself apart from many countries and is recognized across the globe as a pillar of generosity, acceptance, and diversity. It is a vast and beautiful country of different cultures, ethnicities, and religions that coexist in harmony throughout our provinces and territories. However, the most enchanting beauty that this country has to offer is that despite the heterogeneous nature of its inhabitants, they have all blended into a homogeneous entity. The entire world is amazed and astonished by this phenomenon. This year, we celebrate Canada's 150th birthday. And in that, we recognize the anniversary of Canada's Confederation. This was a long journey. And along the way, we as a nation have stumbled and made mistakes, but we have also pondered over them and sought solutions and continue to seek solutions to correct them. Canada has progressed in so many avenues that it may be easy to take our accomplishments for granted. We should never forget how all the freedoms we now have came to be. Our triumphs cannot be celebrated without the recognition of the sacrifices and setbacks on the path. So how is it that Canada has developed and established this reputation of being such a diverse, peaceful, and tolerant country? And how can we continue this legacy for the future of Canada? The word diversity means variety. However, in the context of Canada, the diversity means encompassing acceptance and respecting our individual differences. It is now a synonym to the word Canada. The two go hand in hand. It is the understanding that even if each individual is unique, he or she has a place in a society. That not one is excluded due to race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or any other ideologies for that matter. It is the acceptance and understanding of these differences, not only in a positive environment, but a safe one as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the Holy Quran takes note of diversities of race, color, language, and wealth, which serve their own useful purpose in the social scheme, and describes them as signs of God for those who hear and possess knowledge. But the Holy Quran says, but none of these confers any privilege or imposes any difficulty or disability. The Holy Quran says that God Almighty says in the Holy Quran, O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and we have made you into tribes and sub-tribes that you may recognize one another. Verily, the most honorable among you in the sight of Allah is he who is most righteous among you. Surely Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. In this day and age, Canada is the flag bearer of these qualities. That is why, this is the reason why many of us are here to participate in today's event. You see, the acceptance of diversity in our society is the fundamental glue that shaped Canada. That is why to advocate for diversity is itself part of what makes us Canadians. Today, 1/5 of Canadians are born outside the country and choose to immigrate to Canada. Our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stated, in just considering the words that people use to describe Canada, open, accepting, progressive, and prosperous, what's made it work so well in Canada is the understanding that our diversity isn't a challenge to be overcome or a difficulty to be tolerated. Rather, it is a tremendous source of strength. Canadians understand that our diversity is our strength. We know that Canada has succeeded culturally, politically, economically because of our diversity, not in spite of it.
Nare Takbir! Nare Takbir! Insaniyat! Insaniyat! Canada! Canada! Nare Takbir!
Ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge that tolerance and acceptance, like in many other instances throughout history, were not always so widely practiced. In Canadian history, we will also find oppression of women, the mistreatment of our Indigenous peoples. It is marked by residential schools, the Chinese head tax, mistreatment of Japanese and Ukrainian Canadians. But what intrigues me the most, that despite all the negativity, Canada was able to overcome hatred and mistrust and emerge as one of the world's most tolerant countries in the world that continues to give rights to everyone. But this didn't happen overnight. This was a long journey of strife and struggle. And it took extreme amounts of perseverance and dedication to forge a better Canada, a more inclusive Canada. As mentioned and stated by our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, that we know in our bones that Canada was built by all people, by people from all corners of the world, who worship every faith, who belong to every culture, who speak every language. We believe that that this country's unique diversity is a blessing. Ladies and gentlemen, as Canadians, we are protected by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which allows for our rights to express ourselves freely. This Constitution, drawn up in 1982, is Canada's gate to multicultural identity. The Charter guarantees us the fundamental four freedoms. That is freedom of conscience and religion, freedom of thought, belief, and opinion and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication, freedom of peaceful assembly, and freedom of association. These fundamental freedoms ensure that it is the right of every Canadian to be able to practice, express, and celebrate one's faith of choice. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a beautiful thing. How lucky we are to live in a country that advocates liberty of each of us to live how we choose. So in the words of John Diefenbaker, I am a Canadian, a free Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to worship in my own way, free to stand for what I think right, free to oppose what I believe wrong, or free to choose those who shall govern my country.
Nare Takbir! Canada! Long live Canada!
This heritage, the Prime Minister says, this heritage of freedom I pledge to uphold for myself and all mankind. Ladies and gentlemen, again we see the Prime Minister's remark hint at rights for all of mankind. It is being foretold that not only are these rights and freedoms central to Canadian values, but that we should aim to export them and to spread in the world. As Muslims, we can relate to these fundamental freedoms as they are entrenched in Islam. In the year the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessing of God be upon him, migrated to Medina, where many tribes and faiths were already present. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessing of God be upon him, formulated a document in 622 CE, which is now known as the Charter of Medina, that predates the Magna Carta by several centuries. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, through it, wished to establish peaceful coexistence, to end tribal warfare, to institute rights and responsibilities for Muslim, Jews, and pagans alike, and to establish the first Islamic state, one which guaranteed freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, freedom of belief, and freedom of thought, regardless of creed, race, or ethnicity. These rights are fundamental and universal in having a working and peaceful society. In reality, what existed in the Islamic world now exists here. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom in many ways is more Islamic than the rules and regulations of many Islamic countries. It is not because Canada has adopted the Islamic philosophy, but rather Canada has chosen to protect basic human rights and freedoms and give respect to all its citizens. To further illustrate, Canada is a society where we can hold our values, beliefs, and culture tradition and still call ourselves proud Canadians. We do not have to give up who we are in order to be Canadians. We are Canadians because who we are and what we become together. We see the examples of our vast multicultural society in our daily lives. From the peaceful exchanges we share with strangers on the street, to encounters with friends who may not share the same beliefs as we do. In Canada, we are constantly exposed to the people of different backgrounds. For instance, in Canada alone, there are 200 languages and ethnicities that have been documented to reside here. In fact, 13 different ethnic origins were reported to have passed the 1 million person mark in 2011. It is remarkable how Canada touches almost every ethnicity in the world. But what is even more amazing is how we respect each in its uniqueness. There are many instances in which Canada has upheld its dedication to respect the religious practices of all. One such example is in 1990, when the federal government removed the ban on wearing hijab or wearing turbans, which prevented Sikhs from joining the RCMP. This was a victory of Canadian values due to that fact that the Sikhs were previously forced to choose between the religious expression or the work uniform. Victories like these are also victories to be celebrated on Canada's 150th because they define us as a country. These victories are what drives us, what inspires us, what motivates us, and most of all, what is of value to us. These Canadian values allow us to maintain a multicultural society and continue to live peacefully together. In the last few years, Canada has been praised for its policies and goals in supporting other countries, specifically with regards to immigration. These initiatives are not only critical for healthy relationships with the rest of the world, but it also maintains and encourages growth in a multicultural society. I recall Martin Luther King once noted that life's most persistent question, the life most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Canada has proven itself to be a global leader in providing aid overseas, and over the years, providing safe new homes to refugees. For example, the Underground Railroad, which was a network of routes and safe houses throughout Canada that helped up to 30,000 enslaved Africans escape the United States in the 1800s. Canada was a safe place for these prisoners who had everything stripped from them. The same can be said for Ahmadi Muslims who found a safe place in Canada, a place free of hate and persecution, a place where we can profess and practice our faith freely. Canada opened its arms with the promise of a better and safer life, just as it did with refugees from the United States in the past, and as it does today with Syrian refugees. In recent years, the government and communities across Canada have resettled more than 40,000 Syrian refugees. In relation to this, between 2003 and 2013, Canada ranked second in the world in accepting refugees resettled by UNHCR. Keep in mind that Canada represents approximately 3% of world's GDP, so these numbers are very meaningful. That is what defines us as a country and gives us the badge of a peaceful and inclusive country. These are the practices that the children of immigrants remember and carry with these traditions and values for generations to come, and that is our legacy. The refugees come to Canada not only because they need safety and security, but also for a better and brighter future. Future that guarantees freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, and opportunities to excel in all walks of life. Indeed, we all can agree that this great country has given us so much more than this. Ladies and gentlemen, Canada is a country that advocates for every person to speak openly and confidently about whatever inspires or drives us. Canada is a country that creates opportunities for learning and teaching our respective cultures and values. Canada is a country that provides safe and free environment that welcomes all races, religions, ethnicities, genders, physical abilities, religious beliefs, and political beliefs. In view of these cosmopolitan qualities of Canada, and in particular, the value in which people of different religions and different faiths can live together peacefully, I am reminded about the statement of Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimullah alayh, In admiration of Canada, he prayed that Canada becomes the whole world and that whole world becomes Canada.
Nara Takbir! Nara Takbir! Canada! Long live! Long live! Nara Takbir!
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the words of a man of God who envisioned Canada as a positive force that can unite the world by being a global leader and flag bearer of these universal values. It is a prayer that we all have to uphold and aid in its ultimate realization. This matter should not be taken lightly. As Canadians and as Ahmadi Muslims, it is our duty to help Canada promote, spread, and affect people around the world with our core Canadian values of true respect for one another. 1,500 years ago, the following words resonated from the desert of Arabia. O ye mankind, you are all brothers and are all equal. None of you can claim any privilege or any superiority over any other. An Arab is not to be preferred to a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab is to be preferred to an Arab. Nor is a white man to be preferred to a colored one, or a colored one to a white, except on the basis of righteousness. O people, it is true that you have certain rights with regards to your women, but they also have rights over you. Do treat your women well and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to look around. Where is this being followed? These were the instructions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and blessing of God be upon him, to Muslims and indeed to all mankind. At his farewell address, its essence not being followed in any Muslim country, yet it is being followed here in Canada. Living in this blessed and beautiful country, the question we should ask ourselves that how we should celebrate Canada's 150th. As Muslims, we take a cue from the Holy Quran and from the example of the perfect exemplar Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah the Exalted says in the Holy Quran, Hal jazaa'ul ihsani illal ihsan. The reward of goodness is nothing but goodness. This concept of gratitude should be further viewed in the light of the saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing of God be upon him, when he said, he who is not grateful to people can never be truly grateful to God. Now I call upon you, and I call upon your children, and I call upon your future grandchildren, that it is our duty to help Canada protect these rights and spread these rights around the world. The question is, how can we do this? As the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah be his helper, the one and only Caliph of Islam, has continually advised us that we should involve ourselves in education and careers that benefit mankind. We need to become doctors, researchers, scientists, agriculturalists, lawyers, journalists, philanthropists, and politicians, not for the sake of chasing the dollar, but rather in helping to put more good in the world. The best way to thank Canada is through our love. The best way to thank Canada is through our unconditional service. The best way to thank Canada is through our unflinching loyalty to this great country. We cannot just do this with mere words, but with our actions. We must provide unwavering commitment to uphold these values for Canada and all of mankind. This love, this loyalty, and this service to Canada is indeed part of our faith, as mentioned by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That love and loyalty to one's homeland is part of faith. The Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, who has accepted Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, the promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, reformer of the latter days, shares in these Canadian values that I have just presented. And it is our responsibility to protect and export these values. In reality, these are our values. And all Canadians would agree with our motto, love for all, hatred for none. Let us help Canada spread this message here and abroad. This is our way of giving back to Canada on the occasion of 150th year of Confederation. We celebrate by giving back in service. We celebrate by teaching our children the love and loyalty to this beautiful country. We celebrate by motivating them to serve this great nation in all its good ways. Though our numbers are small here in Canada, we should be proud of what we have already been able to accomplish in service to this country. To note, we are that community who conducts several blood drives each year, earning us the title of the #1 faith community in the country in this regard. We are that community who raises hundreds of thousands of pounds of food each year for various food shelters across Canada. We are that community that, in spite of being small, that has sponsored over 400 Syrian refugees. We are that community that has a sister charity, Humanity First, that has a local food bank, a job training center, and provides international disaster relief as Canadians. We are that community who comes to the aid of communities when it is needed, as was our response to the Fort McMurray wildfires, when we donated $100,000 for support. We are that community that has started an initiative called Run for Canada, that now has 7 runs across Canada, all raising funds for local health care. We are that community that in our headquarters in Vaughan has pledged to raise $2 million for the future Vaughan Hospital. And this we do with our meager numbers and pocketbooks.
Nara Takbir! Nara Takbir! Canada! Canada! Jamaat Ahmadiyya Canada! Nara Takbir!
And this we do with our meager numbers and pocketbooks. And our goal should be to do more than any other group in Canada. And we will do this because we love this country and we want the world to become Canada. To remind us about our respect for Canada and our duty to Canada, I close with these words and prayers of the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah be his helper. I have always remained impressed with Canada's aspirations to establish an all-embracing society to the wants of others, always willing to welcome those who are oppressed and to help the needy and the destitute. May Allah enable this quality to remain forever. May you, the people, and the government of Canada continue to live up to the expectations of justice and to display open-heartedness, so that as a result, the bounties of God Almighty conferred upon you continue forever. Ameen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Nare Takbir! Islam Ahmadiyyat, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa, Canada, Canada, Nare